Hello, thanks for joining us on Journalist Hangout. I am Veronica Danik Boy. Today on the Hangout, presidency kicks against CCT's discharge of Senate President Bukola Saraki. Acting President Oshibajo meets with Southeast leaders. And later on the program, Nigeria's external reserves down to 3-month low. I'll be hanging out with Tony Nwaje, Tunde Abaton, and Charles Idehu. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on the show.
Good to be here.
Our Journalist Hangout starts now. On Wednesday, the Code of Conduct Tribunal exonerated the Senate President Bukola Saraki from all the 18 charges of false asset declaration and other related offences preferred against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, that's the EFCC. While there was wild jubilation in Kwara State and in Saraki's camp, an avalanche of shock and confusion struck Nigerians. The presidency describes the judgment as pedestrian, outrageous, and a travesty of justice. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, says the judgment suggests serious shortcomings in Nigeria's criminal justice system, and the Transparency International, Nigeria, says it was a sad day for Nigeria's anti-corruption fight. But as more Nigerians react to the judgment, what lessons are there for us all to learn about President Buhari's anti-corruption fight? Before we go to the lessons, gentlemen, Tunde, I'll start with you. What was your reaction to the judgment yesterday?
Well, there are three things that we have to look at. When you look at that judgment, yes, people, when it started 2 years ago, people ascribed policies to it. But the kind of noise, the kind of attention that has drawn all over the country. Number one, that the sitting president has enough courage to arraign a sitting Senate president to face anti-corruption charge. It's a lot of display of courage. But what we heard yesterday has turned out to be one thing, is that politically exposed persons are always very difficult to try and to get trial and be fair to them in Nigeria. What it means is that the cost of justice is for the highest bidder. It's for those people who have what it takes. If the Senate President can assemble about 106 lawyers, including 10 sons, to defend him, which means if it had been an ordinary man, he would not have gone this far. So, in other words, the cost of justice, the description of what is justice to the judiciary, is for those people who are politically exposed. Their own attitude is that people who are politically exposed, they have another meaning or another attitude to what kind of trial they are subjected to. If they are telling us that there is no enough evidence by the witnesses to show or to prove that the Senate President did acquire all those things. But the fact remains that it is also possible in any part of the world to calculate how much he has earned since he left university after becoming a medical doctor. So if you are saying that it is not possible to prove that one, on the moral side, you cannot convince Nigerians. What it means is that the more money you have in this country, the more politically exposed you are, the likelihood of your being able to evade justice. Number two is that it has cast an aspersion on the integrity of the judiciary and the ability of this government to fight the war against corruption. Because Nigerians were for the first time looking at the fact that, yes, if the president or the executive can arraign, let me bring something to your attention. Do you know it took about 2 days for them to get the Senate president to be in the dock? It took the prosecution witness about 2 days to get him to enter the dock. And by entering that particular door, it's a demystification of the office of the Senate president. So Nigerians are thinking that maybe, perhaps for the first time, sitting Senate president or powerfully or politically exposed persons can be brought to justice. But with this particular ruling and the excuse given by the chairman of the tribunal, yes, lawyers can give a lot of...
Is it an excuse?
It is an excuse because they are saying that they were unable to prove. It's onus of proof, not that the man cannot do it. So even if there is glaring evidences that somebody has done this thing, but inability of the prosecution witness to prove that that thing happened means that it could be left off the group. Another thing is that, let me tell you something.
All right. Before you go ahead, let's quickly get Tony's reaction to this. Now, the presidency is saying that as overwhelming an evidence that they had on 18-count charges, you know, the CCT is dismissing this case. So what do you make of all of this?
I think it goes beyond what the presidency or a staff of the Mr. President said. I read the statement this morning. This is not the first time EFCC, because you have to be a bit specific here. This is not the first time EFCC is losing cases like this.
This is not EFCC's case. This is not EFCC's case.
No, sorry, the federal government against the Senate President at the tribunal. But you cannot divorce both issues, because it's about what you're going to take, what you're taking. Is it a watertight case? What do you? Okay, now what I have issues with dismissing the 18 count charges. We have issues in this country where we have like 200 count charges, and you ask me, when you look at them, is that a reputation? That is the problem we have. Limiting it, even if it's but be prepared in court. It's about how you present your case in court. And please, I don't want to digress yet. I have a point to make here. On this same forum, we talked about it. How you imagine the genesis of this case. First of all, we mustn't take it out from the context of this, of yesterday's ruling. How this whole thing started. Before the election, that's the administration, then the assumption of office of Saraki as the Senate President, and then this. It's pure political. I've said it before, and I maintain it. It's pure political, and then look at the way it was solved yesterday. It was a pure political arrangement. That's why I say it. It's another political arrangement.
When you say political, you need to break it down for us.
Okay, I'm going to this. Okay. Saraki was part of the campaign team.
Yeah, sure.
No issues then. No issues. No issues when the government came into being. No issues. He started having issues the moment he took over the control of the National Assembly. And then the controversies, and then suddenly the CCT. We know almost every, pick one senator. We have governors there. We have former military, we have former governors, we have former ministers who their cases and the courts. Some of them are even at the CCT. Still. And Saraki case came on, and we saw the party's position, the National Working Committee's position, the President's position on this issue, on this same issue. Then yesterday, this same CCT chairman, everybody is trying to tear apart. People were supporting him just yes, because he was vehement, he was stubborn. When he was telling Saraki, you must sit on that dock. And then yesterday, he said, I don't have any case against you.
So are you saying
what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to sum it. I'm trying to sum. Okay, now I'm summing it. What I'm trying to say here, it's all political arrangements.
Now, are you saying that something went on behind?
Something went on behind. You cannot dismiss 18 count charges.
There has been a political settlement behind that was displayed on the court. Is that what you're trying to say?
Have taken place. They altered the course of justice.
You cannot dismiss. I have issues with the way the issue came, the trial came up, but you cannot dismiss 18 count charges just like in the field. I read, the tribunal chairman was dismissing it one after the other.
What if the evidence, the prosecution counsel was
not
able
they provided
the assets. Because it lies, the owner's lies with them to prove.
They gave evidences of where these assets are.
Even on hearsay?
No. That's what they were listed. And I want to believe them.
And what
I'm trying to say, from my own point of view, you asked me, and what I'm trying to say is this. There is a political arrangement. You can, I said, there's no way you can dismiss it.
We can't just establish that.
No, Tony can say they might have been.
Okay, they might be.
Good.
What I'm trying to say.
It is not impossible.
It is not impossible.
But don't be too.
No, let me finish. It's not what I'm trying to say. This is Nigeria. Big men don't go to jail.
Yes.
In this same country, we've seen politicians being taken to tribunal, and and they are granted bail. You know, it's still like billions, and you're giving 3 million naira. And then you go to your booth and you pay. At this same country, the former Delta State governor, was taken to court. 110 charges. Second, I'm taken to court. But out of that 110 charges, eight of those charges was what the UK court needed to nail him.
And he did. Charles, now, do you share the same view? Was there a political behind-the-scene display that brought about that which we saw happening yesterday?
There might have been, because even flying conspiracy theorist kite that the issue of the budget being signed, people yielding power, saying, okay, maybe it may have been, that issue must have been traded in. But I do not want to totally believe that. But it's quite saddening. 18-count charge, 48 exhibits, just quashed. It's sad. It's quite sad. It's quite sad, and it makes a mockery of our anti-corruption fight that all of us have been applauding the government. But again, the question you asked that, what lesson have we got to learn from it? Number one lesson is that because it is often said that a desperate disease requires desperate treatment. So we need to change the game. We need to change the strategy. Since we know that corruption is fighting back, and the people who are assumed to be corrupt, they become so wealthy and so powerful that they have taproots. You know, we're mentioning about taproots on the ground, that they become unshakable. So what we need to do is to change the strategy. What do we do? Number one is that the prosecution has to up its game. 18-count charge quashed. That means that there's something wrong with the prosecution. Because you win the case or you lose the case from the investigation stage. What Danladi said yesterday is part of this is the failure of the prosecution to obtain Saraki's statement and make it part of the proof of evidence. How come that wasn't part of it? So if we know, for instance, that these people are just being let off the hook because of lack of watertight evidence, then rather than rush to the press, what we need to do is that if there's somebody who is going to be investigated, the investigation should be taken very seriously. It could spend 1 year, one whole year, so that when you come out, you have watertight evidence. It could be 2. If you have a 18-count charge, for instance, as Oni said, some of them are similar in nature. You can collapse this one that are similar in nature. You reduce it to a better minimum, so that both the bench and the bar will not be overwhelmed. Like everybody's look at how many cases are the federal government lost now in this anti-corruption, and it's a travesty. What we need to do, prosecution has to up its game, as I said earlier. Do not rush to the media. Oh, we are celebrating this. Oh, this person has been damned. And meanwhile, we are doing that. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So if we need to actually say, okay, we're going to fight it, because there's no judge that's going to judge any case. Is going to divide judgment without evidence. I'm saying that the evidence before me must be without any iota of doubt. Beyond reason, that's why you have this beyond reasonable doubt. If a judge has any doubt at all, it's going to affect the outcome of the judgment. So the prosecution has to sit down, up his game, to make sure that you have watertight evidence. It doesn't have to be 22-count charge, 800-count charge. You can collapse the one that are similar in nature, and then have it could be 5 very powerful ones that could do them in.
Now, I come back to you today because you were trying to, reel out what this actually has done to the anti-corruption war or fight in Nigeria, because Nigerians were actually waiting for the outcome of this trial. And obviously, it seems like what really are we doing? Are we really serious about this anti-corruption fight? And where we cannot really prove beyond reasonable doubt that this person is guilty of what we are saying, what then are we? Aren't we at a crossroad?
Well, I think what I would say is that when you have a generational systemic rot that has taken probably 50 years, the more you are in a privileged position to steal, the more you have the capacity and the capability of preventing the farce of the case that could nail you. Even if the case is brought up 20 years to come out, you have the capacity to alter the course of justice, to delay and to affect the course of justice. What I would say is that a stronger corruption is fighting corruption. It's corruption that's the corruption of the system. It's fighting the system itself. So when the system is corrupt, true and true, both the investigation and the prosecution, even the institution, that is the judiciary itself, is biased in one way or the other. You can see a lot of scenarios that led to this particular judgment in the last 1 week, when some judges that have been arraigned. Look, there's nothing you can say if your husband is earning 1 million naira per month and she presents you with a car gift of 15 million. Are you not going to, which means throughout that 1 year, you have not been able to feed the family. He was just saving his salary just for 1 year and to buy a car for you as a birthday gift. So what we mean is that, you see, if our judiciary, if they are telling us that it is not proved beyond reasonable doubt, somebody that was jailed in Nigeria was not found guilty over about 22 counts in Nigeria. When the person got to Britain, because they have a much more dependable and organized system, he was not unable to beat the system. But in this country, Nigeria, when you have money, when you have resources, you can beat the system. What has happened is that somebody who is more powerful has been able to beat the system, and the judiciary has thrown its hand up that it is in want of concrete evidence, proof of doubt, that the man has done it. It is all about corruption, fighting corruption. A powerful force is fighting outside. The heavier one has swallowed the other one. It's like the tiger and the lion. The faster kills. So what we say is that no matter what, it means in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, so far we still have the systemic rot in the system, from the police, from the civil service, from the judiciary. Everything comes together. The powerful will always escape justice. They will always escape punishment in Nigeria. If this system continues like this, bring another person next year, he will evade it. Because how come that about 4 principal witnesses were unable to present in court to testify based on what they have sworn into? It means corruption, a powerful force that is behind them, is preventing them from doing it. So we are talking about the system. It is the system, we have to take care of it. Remember, President Buhari too did admit it, that the judiciary and the system is making it difficult to do that thing. Also remember that this government sent a bill to the National Assembly to establish anti-corruption special courts in all the 36 states of Nigeria and Abuja up to tomorrow.
But who
that's what we are saying. That's what we are saying. So that's what we are saying, that if there is systemic rot, so that the mere fact that the National Assembly refused to pass that law in the first instance, it means that that thing has been shut down. So what we are saying is that the judiciary in Nigeria is meant for the weak.
No, apart from that, the thing is that...
The judiciary in Nigeria is meant for the weak. It's not meant for the powerful.
Another thing is that...
If you could just hold the thought, we have John from Abuja. Are you there, John? Go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
John.
Yes, I think the prosecution should return the money they have collected for trying this case. The prosecution should collect the money they have collected for trying this case. It's for wasting our time.
So what I hope you can call back again.
So what I was saying is that we also look at the system has to be allowed to perform. Another gray area also sees that when you look at our laws, most of these letters are ambiguous, and then some of the provisions of the law, they are also in conflicts. When you say session, another session is quarreling with that session.
You take your time to see.
Do you understand?
I
mean, I've read through the Constitution.
From the page 1 to the end, it is full of contradictions.
That's what I'm saying. So I've read through the Constitution over time.
So another problem that we have in Nigeria is that if we are unable to fight the war against corruption from the top, it means development will suffer. Because it is the ability of these people at the top to take the resources that are meant for Nigeria and use it for their personal good. It means we cannot develop
the system
corruption and development.
The system is also encouraging that. So what we need to do is that let's reduce the ambiguity in the letters of our law to ensure that when a certain session expressly says this, it means that. And there's no other session that's supposed to be in conflict with that session, because that is what the lawyers are. The lacuna.
You know,
no, it's amendment. That's when you get the lacuna where the lawyers are fixing on.
Gentlemen, we have a caller on the line. Benga from Ogun State. Benga, are you there? Go ahead with your contribution. Benga. All right, now, gentlemen, before you were talking about amending the Constitution.
Yes, because of the lacuna, and then the lawyers are feasting on it. And then
the American Constitution is the simplest Constitution to read.
I mean, look at the volume. The volume is manageable.
There are other options open to the CCT chairman in person of Danladi Umar. Looking at the 18-count charge, everybody is trying to tear him apart.
I think those options will be revealed when the federal government goes to the Court of Appeal. It is the duty of the prosecution to reveal or to unearth those options that he failed to explore to get him convicted. Well, I read Professor Saraki this morning was saying that there was no way calling for an appeal. Anybody, based on the evidence that is available to Nigerians, anybody can tell him.
But if the evidence cannot prove why blame the CCT chairman? Why blame the CCT chairman?
Because the judge who sits in judgment will not deliver any case without
you cannot talk for the judge.
No, that is it. I covered the judge for a while. What I'm saying is that look, we must test the system.
What is left for the federal government now is to proceed to the appellate court. So I think instead of all this, let them go and sort it out.
And then also,
I think this is it. Moved on.
Exactly. So again, let them concentrate on maybe this 18-count charge. Can they reduce it to a better system?
Many times you said that.
I've said it. Let's get the one that I can. I mean, watertight. So that is
incriminating.
Even if it is one. Because to me, I think it's just burdening the system. And then you belabor the whole thing. And then we talk about 18-count charge. Then at the end of the day, none is credible enough. None is credible enough, even including the 48th exhibit. None is credible enough to nail this man. But again, you can't also blame what is happening. Because, I think for now, because of the media issue, the court of public opinion already convicted him.
Yes, but that is not enough.
Exactly, which is not enough. Exactly.
It is not enough.
Exactly.
It is not.
So the court of public opinion already convicted him. So because the judgment, the pendulum now swung the other way, that's why everybody is crying foul. So but again, the investigation stage has to be tightened.
Lajide from Lagos State, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Good evening, Veronica.
Good evening. Go ahead with your contribution.
How is Babajide?
Fine, he's fine.
Charles, thank you very much. Let me tell you one thing. This is just the beginning of this film. I believe APC by now, their head will have been in a cooling now. Because even the rats of a house know that Bukola Saraki is the corruption that is sitting on top of Nigeria. And let me tell you, Charles, if this is the only thing Buhari administration can do for Nigeria, everybody will clap.
I agree.
But as it is now, if Bukola Saraki can go scot-free, then they should free Evans.
Oh.
They should free Evans. They should free him. So my own contribution now is that this is the beginning of this film. I know another scenario is going to come up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Olajide, for your contribution. Indeed, and Nigerians were actually waiting to see the outcome of
which is what I said. I said in the court of public opinion, he had already been convicted.
Agreed.
Which is not enough, as you said. But what about the evidence before the judge?
It is not enough.
Is it
enough?
Exactly.
So how the move from now at the appeals court? Yes, like Tunde said earlier, it's of major importance to this case. So what do you expect, Tony?
That's
when they move to the appeals court.
Now, if they are disenchanted. They're not happy with the outcome of the tribunal. They proceed to the appellate court. Yes. That to me is what they should be thinking now. They should be sitting down just the way I was sitting down. They say, where did we go wrong? Can we bring the evidence here again and look at our loopholes where we made mistakes, re-strategize and proceed, and make sure they don't make that same mistake. Because if they make that same mistake, you have the same beating. It's not about sentiment. Sentiment and law, they are
two different things.
They are not connected. So let them go and do their homework and proceed. It's not over yet. According to
you think?
No, there's a window.
There's an appellate
window.
So let them proceed and appeal the decision of the court. I think it's as simple as that. It's rather than just
because in Nigeria now, the strength of the defendant is tested by the strength of the prosecution. If the prosecution is not strong enough to actually convince, then the defendant will have his way.
But the problem
right,
is the
we
other
have
challenge.
a caller on the line. Sorry. Melabo from Yobe, are you there? Melabo? All right. Melabo,
the other challenge is that if we want to fight corruption and fight it and bring it down to its knees, funding is very, very important. Take a look at one man parading how many sons and how many of what was the prosecution what was able to do?
Because they it's intimidating alone.
It's intimidating.
If you are a lawyer, the opposite side.
Honestly,
that's what I'm saying. That can access justice in Nigeria.
Exactly. So we also have to talk about the funding. Let's fund the anti-corruption agencies, so that they'll have
they have no complaint that they have not been funded.
Oh, they are complaining.
Do we have to wait for them to complain?
Let them complain now.
They have. Today they have.
All right,
really, they have to complain. Anyway, you know Nigeria, you must ask.
No complaint.
You must ask before you get. Otherwise, you.
All right, gentlemen. After this break, Acting President Oshibajo meets Southeast leaders. Details when we return. Stay with us. Now, on Wednesday, the acting president, Yemi Oshibajo, met with Southeast leaders and urged them to speak out against hate speeches capable of destabilizing Nigeria. He said there has been loud and sometimes hostile agitations by youth in their region and reiterated his message to northern leaders to them, saying Nigeria will deal decisively with any troublemaker who threatens to the peaceful coexistence of the country. The meeting was the second consultative forum to be held by the federal government since some Arewa youth groups issued a quit notice to all Igbos living in the region. Now, will these meetings end the agitation and brewing intolerance among some Nigerians? Before we go there, Tunde, what do you make of this move by the acting president?
I think what he has done is right, but what baffles me is that, like I said, we have a systemic rot in this country. Everybody knows what a treasonable felony act is. When you make a treasonable statement, the police cannot claim not to be aware. Must they wait for the president to enforce or to call to order people who are seen to be disturbing the peace of Nigeria, to be threatening the peaceful coexistence of Nigeria? So I am surprised that we have an Inspector General of Police. And it was so good for the governor of Kaduna State. He came out after 48 hours and asked the police to arrest those guys. And the other time, the AIG was saying that are there people who stay in the market that they can be taken, which means in a normal society, the AIG should resign. That you cannot bring to order.
In another society.
In another society. In the same society. In the same society.
This society is sane.
It's not sane. It's not sane. It's not the same society.
My society is sane.
The Inspector General of Police should have been fired by now. That it has to take the president of the country to now begin to organize. It means the police too is compromised through and through. Yes, people may not like what I'm saying. That about 5 guys in Kaduna State can issue a threat that will threaten Nigeria, and the commissioner of police in that state, the AIG in that zone, the AIG in that zone,
no one was arrested.
The IG of Nigeria cannot do it, which means you have to wait for the intervention of the president. It is very unfortunate. It is unfortunate that, number 2, that the governors in the southeast too, they have not done enough to also curtail Kanu, because I believe the guy, covertly or by mistake, he has also flouted the rules that gave him bail condition. That he can do that thing, because both him and the guys from the north, they have performed treasonable act in the face of the law in Nigeria, and both of them, and 2 rounds does not make it right. So it's unfortunate, but we have to give kudos to the president. But it is the system that is not working that has made the president to come out. As far as I'm concerned, the acting president should not have been the one that will now come out and do this thing. If those people who are supposed to do their job have done their job, that is the Inspector General of Police. All right,
Tony, do you share some view as Tunde just did, saying the acting president shouldn't have been the one making this move?
You notice that the people who are assigned to take some step didn't take it. I commend the acting president's modus operandi. The way he has been operating is different from the past. You must move. You know, yesterday I had a meeting with the stakeholders from the north, from the southeast. 2 days ago from the north, yes. And that is how it should be. I mean, that meeting, it holds volume. It carries a lot of weight when the president is an acting president now. So he has that power. When he sits with these people, these critical stakeholders from the north, from this part of the country, because we are talking about the north and the southeast here. There are other parts of the country that, I mean, but he looked at it in a way that if he doesn't take that kind of step and sits the way the IG of police and the other agencies that were responsible to have taken that step didn't take, if you are sat in Abuja and didn't do anything, I can assure you that today we'll still be hearing that voices. Look at it today. Nobody is talking about the threat. It seems so far seems to have reduced. Last week we had the governors condemning it. Governor of Bauchi and Borno State, governor of Imo State, all of them. But I think it goes beyond that. The presidency stepping out, you know, and condemning it, because even before then, people were even saying Oshibaju ought to have spoken earlier. I had people, he ought to have spoken earlier, but he took the bull by the horn. And I think what he did should be commended. I don't want to look at the issues connecting to it. The fact that, okay, look at, since 2 days ago, the tension seems to be dying down. That, to me, is enough. And I think it's not going to stop over there. Meeting them, I support him and them.
But Charles, what comes to mind is the fact that before, like you said, is because the persons or the people that are meant to, you know, handle situations like this are not doing their job. That is why, that's what Tunde and Tony have said. That is why he's coming out. But isn't it worrying that these persons are not playing their roles? Where are the governors of these states where these people are seemingly agitating, and where, you know, the leaders, so to speak? Okay, you will contribute.
But the system will not allow these people to do their job.
What system?
Because the police system you have is a centralized police system.
Then we should disband it.
Hold on, sir. But you have to also amend the constitution. Because we have been unitary, you've been running a unitary system of government, which has made it very difficult for a governor. It's supposed to be the. Do you know that the Nigerian Constitution says the governor is the chief executive, not chief security officer. Today is the chief executive. It's semantics. The governor is the chief security, is the chief executive of the state, but not chief security of the state. Go and look at it. No, go and look at it, Tunde. Go and look at it. Because before you can do, hold on, sir. Hold on. Let me say it. Before the police can take action, you have to take action from instruction from the Inspector General. So what is that? What is that? Is it the chief executive? Is it the chief security? When you have to have a recourse to the center.
But even if
you are not supposed to have a recourse to the center, they can say, okay, at this level there's something to do, but you have to always have a recourse to the center for you to rent. If a state is burning, for instance, you cannot command the police commissioner. Even if you say because do certain things, police commissioner has to call the center.
It depends on the political angle you belong to. You can consult the IG direct.
What they are doing, another thing, that's on the one hand. On the other hand,
Charles, Tony, sorry, you will come.
On the other hand,
point.
Then what is also helping matter is the issue of this politics. The president is from the north right now. So when the vice president, who is from the southwest, begins to issue order to arrest people from the north, a Yoruba president is against. No, today this is my perspective.
We are not allowing the system to work.
This is my perspective. No,
that's why I said the AIG.
No, that is what is on ground. We are saying what are the
issues. Trying to point out why things are working.
I'm saying why they are not, why they are the way they are. We can only proffer solution after we have already told you what the problems are. So when you now have a Yoruba man in quote as on the active capacity, now ordering to arrest people from the north, you now start flying the ethnic kite and how would this system work? So if you allow, for instance, okay, police who is there now say, okay, what is the president's body language? If we move into arrest now, and then you have agitation heightening, it will now affect, maybe the IG may also be removed because the IG is also against the northern interest. So we have to look at this that except we now decentralize the police, there are certain areas which okay, unless on point A, point B, you can have a recourse to the center. On point C, point D, you can do local arrangement. But we're not having it there. So that's exactly what you have to look at, that the police system is too centralized in Nigeria for even the commissioner or the governors to do whatever they want to do in this case.
Tony, your point.
So I was trying to jump in, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is this. It depends on the political divide, the side of the political divide you belong to. For instance, in Kaduna today, when it happened, the governor of Kaduna State can call the IG of police if actually they want anybody arrested. It's a done deal. But then you look at
that's the if. I'm wondering why there should be an if.
There's an if. There's an if. I want to align.
No, why is there an if?
Why there's an if is this? Because I don't see any seriousness in it. It's just a political statement. Because these are individuals. Even another one came out on a TV station the next day and said he's here. You don't want to pick him up. I mean,
boldly.
Has anybody been arrested now?
He was in that press conference. So the issue is this is a mere political statement. We know how to arrest people if they want to arrest.
Another if.
So there are a lot of ifs. So the issue is we're not serious yet. We are not serious. We keep going around in circle, making progress in circle until we get serious. And I think, following what Charles said, it all borders down on restructuring this country. If we want to get this thing solved, where an IG, a police commissioner has to take, and you are the governor, you cannot give instruction except maybe you know the IG directly, and you know what I mean. So we are not ready. Until we're ready, the country needs a serious restructuring. Except to do that, we're wasting time. We keep talking about it here.
Tune wanted to make a point, Ernie.
Well, I think the learned acting president, because he's a learned man, he's a professor of law, he's a senior advocate of Nigeria. He has been directly in governance now for 2 years as vice president and for 3 months as the acting president of Nigeria. Cumulatively. And he must have come across a particular fact in Nigeria. And
could you just hold the thought? We have a caller on the line, Bom Mali from Adamawa. I hope I got your name correctly. Go ahead with your contribution.
Dan Lamin.
Oh, Dan Lamin. Dan Lamin.
Yes, ma'am. So, good evening.
Good evening.
So I want to contribute on the program concerning the Saraki case. The fact of the matter is that if you look at our judicial system, we have problems in our judiciary. In the case of Ibori, I want you to recall, if you could recall, the same evidence that our judge threw out in Nigeria here. Is that the same evidence in the UK court that Ibori pleaded guilty to the charge? That has to tell you the problem of the system or the rot in the judicial system. So the problem is not EFCC, it's not lack of evidence, it's not lack of investigation. The problem is the judiciary. The judiciary can use the technicality to save the mighty or the rich people, but they will use the same technicality to jail the poor. These are the problems. We don't have problem with investigation. How many big men have you even heard that our judge, they sentence them to prison, but every day, orange teller, street, they are being jailed every blessed day.
All right, Danami, thank you for your contribution. Well, Tunde, you were trying to...
I was saying that haven't been in governance for 2 years, and 3 of it cumulatively being the acting president of Nigeria. The vice president is somebody who has a deep knowledge of law, and looking at Nigeria as a very diverse country, he should have come to a conclusion now that the kind of power we have at the center, it is impossible to have a multilingual, multiracial, multi-ethnic country and use a unitary system. It is not possible. It was tried in the Soviet Union for 77 years until 1991, when they realized that it's impossible to rule a country as diverse like that with a unitary system. So I think he should delete the even though before he came to power, yes, they were talking about the restructuring. But when he got to power, either because, like he said, body language of the president is against it. The president will make a declaration that he was not going to touch the report of the confab. And part of why they got food from a particular part of the country, I can say, was the restructuring that was one of the things in the front burner. But unfortunately, having decision it, the president now, with the benefit of hindsight, he should summon enough courage and call the people of Nigeria together, and we must decide what kind of country we want to have. This system cannot work. A system that will make a governor of a state not be the real security of that state, it cannot work. A system that will make an inspector general of police to look at his ethnic background, because before he can curb something that is of serious interest to the unity and stability of Nigeria, it cannot work. It's still something that will make the president of Nigeria to intervene in a local matter that should have been done by a police officer. It cannot work. So he has to summon enough courage. It will be remembered for something, for summoning enough courage, like this Gorbachev did. Let us call the owners of Nigeria together. I'm not talking of some generals who are manipulating us. We should call the owners of Nigeria together from all parts of Nigeria, and we should discuss and agree on how we want to run this.
If I can read between the lines of what you're saying that just meeting with this person is not enough, because we need to address the real issue and not just the symptoms.
Sorry. Yep. Look, you need to start from somewhere. Okay, you can't just jump into. I mean, can you just sit and start running?
No, that was why we applauded what the acting president did.
It may not have a, but in the short run, it is applaudable.
We applauded that.
Okay, what he's doing is that he has done that. It's called the one in the north, in the southeast. There's even next week, he's going to bring these two parties together. Yep. No, not just meeting them individually. He's going to bring the north and the southeast to meet together, and also call their governors who also wield some political powers in their domain to see how much they can influence decisions in their respective states. So that's also a good thing.
Gentlemen, we have a caller on the line. Idris from Lagos, are you here? Go ahead with your contribution. Idris. Well, Idris is off the line, Charles. Go ahead. So
what the president needs to do is to widen his scope. Okay, so to bring in more people. Okay, if you are discussing with the south and southeast and then north, what about the grumblings?
That was why we said it's not enough.
Truly.
No, I said it's a good way to go, but we need to.
I commend the vice president.
We need to expand.
I commend the acting president for his commendable. But we need to, just as he said, look at the taproot, the root of this. No, just like the Niger Delta question. We've had issues in the past where
a lot of questions,
this kidnapping and all that. If you treat it, it will come up tomorrow. It will come because there are questions being asked. There are questions being asked. I think I commend him, but it goes beyond just meeting these people. Because how are you going to checkmate it tomorrow?
No, meeting them, we start on these things. From there, you get all these things.
We've done it before. We've done it before. I remember when Yaradua came and then they fight in the Niger Delta. That's why this issue of amnesty came up. It's still coming, the issue, but that is not the real issue. You can see it's still snowballing into other areas. That is not the issue. We must go down to the basics. What are the agitations of these people? You can't, from both all part of this country needs to be listened to until we get down seriously and talk. We'll keep wasting time. That's my humble opinion.
Well, gentlemen, we need to move on now. Since March this year, Nigeria's foreign reserve has been on a free fall. Between May the 4th and now, Nigeria's foreign reserve has declined by $770 million. On Wednesday, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, published on its website that the foreign reserve declined on Tuesday, June the 13th to $30.22 billion. This figure represents a weekly decline of $68 million. The current reserve is the lowest level in 3 months. But as the reserve continues its dive, the Central Bank of Nigeria has injected another $413.5 million to the market to further strengthen the naira. How long more would Nigeria defend its currency, Tunde? For how long?
Well, I think recently, I will quote the Vice President again. He did say that Nigeria, when he was launching the economic growth plan of the federal government, that Nigeria must learn to produce what you have to eat and to depend less on what you are getting outside. And the question we now ask the central bank is that, is the central bank subsidizing the value of the naira to encourage external import consumption or to encourage local production? If it is to encourage local production, the aftermath you have is that there will be a multiplier effect on the local economy. The gross domestic product of Nigeria will increase. And if there's an increase in the gross domestic product, which means more people will get job. When more people get job, invariably too, the value of the naira will come out. But if the naira is being strengthened in order for people to get money to consume foreign goods, then, which means spending our foreign reserve, we are not spending on anything. We are just punishing ourselves. We are postponing the evil day. So let us intervene to save the naira, to encourage local consumption. Because when there's local consumption and local and
local production.
Local production.
The consumption is
consumption. When the local production is increased, the GDP will go up. And when there's an increase in GDP, that is where you are planning to have a farmer naira for the future. Because supposing the price of oil should come down 2 months' time to $30, will you still have the dollar to show up the value of the naira? The answer is no.
So are you saying that the strategy being used by the CBN
I think it's questionable.
It's
I think
questionable. You're questioning.
It's questionable.
Tony, do you agree?
I don't think it has worked. It's over and over again. That's what the present CBN management has been doing, and the naira has just remained just there. We may have it at 360 today, but how many Nigerians can afford our exchange rate? It goes beyond strengthening the naira. At what cost to the Nigerian economy? I had issues with, I still have issues with the present management of the CBN because the approach to bringing down the value of the, I mean, you said encouraging production. I mean, when, for instance, as a local producer, as a manufacturer in Nigeria, you cannot access foreign exchange, how do you encourage people who want to go into businesses in Nigeria to produce, for instance, for what to consume? Before we say, let's consume what to produce. How are you going to produce when the environment is not, it's not viable for you, when the government is not in support? CBN, I've seen a lot of people approach a bank for a facility. You can't get it. You can't get it except you're going to get it back tomorrow. And these are long-term loans. So our present the economy, the system must first and foremost encourage Nigerians, because I know we have willing Nigerians who want to go into full-time production, but the system is not permitting it. Until we get to that level, that is what will bring our, not this interventionist, because I see it as an intervention. You keep intervening.
Smiling, he's not agreeing.
No, of course, he has. Of course, that's okay. One I keep maintaining.
So, Charles,
but he said until we get to that level. How do you get to that level? You have to intervene. I mean, you have to re-strategize. You don't do you cannot be doing the same thing all the time and expect a change. No, you must re-strategize. You must change. There are indeed changes in the system.
Tell us about it.
I mean, the thing is that Tony said until we get to that point. The question is, how do we get to that point? You have to get.
I'm not seeing any signs.
No, there are signs to it.
Okay, let me know, Charles.
As at February this year, I think the naira got to about 400 something.
Yeah.
But between April and now, the thing has stabilized it's been hovering between 364, 365. It has remained there. And are you also aware that twice a week? Hold on. Twice a week, the BDCs, we have about 3,145 BDCs across the nation. Each of them receives twice a week $20,000, And right now, as we speak now, the demand of dollar has reduced because the supply has increased. The demand is it has affected even the supply. The supply is very heavy right now. So if the supply is heavy, the prices will crash. So CBN needs to intervene right now for this thing to stabilize so that when people depend less on dollars, you cannot begin to talk about looking inward, which is a strategy that I believe that Central Bank is doing. It's working, Tony, because the naira has not reduced beyond the which they have been able to scale it down and be able to maintain that for whose cost? Look, there's no way. Look, we have to take from somewhere.
Is it costing the economy? Is it costing us anything? It is costing us.
No, Tony. There's no way you can. There's no way. That
approach is what I have issues with.
Hold on, because the central bank needs to defend its currency.
We are not saying it's
how long.
I'm not having issues with that.
It's not how long. It's a stopgap measure. It's a stopgap measure.
For how long?
Now we are beginning to see.
As you said, we shouldn't ask for how long.
Now we are beginning to see. We are beginning to see the stability in the naira because of liquidity, because of the issue of foreign liquidity. When we didn't have foreign liquidity, the naira was suffering.
Let me
now that we have foreign liquidity, the naira begin to gain strength. It's only when it gains strength that most people are not looking towards the dollar. Now you now begin to look inward. Then you will now talk about local production. But right now, what the CBN is doing, to me, I'm not a fan of the system governor, but this policy is working.
this
this policy is working. It's working.
But then are we creating enabling environment?
Let me raise a point. Can I let you know? Look, the CBN cannot do magic right now. We know why. The power sector, as far as it remains epileptic, there's no way you can increase local production, because even the industries
and should be left like that.
Is it the CBN that's going to work the power out?
CBN. Look.
Is it CBN that works? The CBN doing its own by defending the naira? Then let the power sector also handle this. When you have a regular power supply, people can produce. But the power is epileptic.
But he just talked about not having access to certain facilities.
Look, but what I'm saying is that we have started somewhere. If the power sector can also address its own, and we have at least a modicum stability in that level, you see that even people will depend less on the dollar. You can now have
people are still depending heavily on the dollar.
But it's good. It will end very soon, Sonny.
I pray so.
I don't share your opinion.
Okay, why?
I will tell you why.
Okay, tell me.
Let me tell you something. The value of the naira and the capacity of Nigeria is dependent on some external factors.
I understand.
What are those factors? The OPEC. In the last 1 year, the OPEC has been so favorable to Nigeria by cutting output globally and asking Nigeria and one other country to continue to maintain their supply to the international market. That is 2.2 million barrels per day. If something happens to that 2.2 and it should come to 1.4 million barrels, where would the Central Bank of Nigeria, that has not been encouraging local production, get money to show up the dollar?
Hold on, please. We have Lawrence from Ogun State. Lawrence, are you there?
I'm there.
Go ahead with your contribution. Good evening.
How are you? I greet all your panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're fine.
Yeah, the first one about CCT, Saraki issue, is to understand that the Judiciary are using the letter and the spirit of constitution to ensure Nigeria did not get justice, and the looters who do the wrongdoer of the society escape justice. That's number one. Number two, on the area of restructuring, we need restructuring. But the big restructuring is ourselves. Unless we change our attitude, Nigeria is going nowhere. You can even imagine 4 of you there, you're unable to even tolerate yourself. Allow one person to speak, so others can listen. So that's my contribution.
That's Nigeria.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Lawrence.
Oh, you want us to think the same way?
Thank you,
Lawrence.
Lawrence,
you want us to be stereotyped.
He's just trying to tell you that
until break it down for us.
Until there's tolerance.
See, I think the central bank has to, this stopgap measure, because it's stopgap.
It's over. It
has to be there. It doesn't have to be indefinite.
No, stopgap is. You already said this.
There must be a timeline. There must be a timeline. We can't continue doing it
because I'm saying that it's working. It is working. It is working because I follow
at
the
what
cost? Something must give. Something must give.
Inject money into this. I ask again, at whose cost?
Something must
strategy has to change. You cannot keep maintaining
the road has been set for so long, that this interventionist system that policy that is working.
We need to wrap up the show.
Okay, just
so I must say thank you for coming on the show today. At least they made up, Lawrence. They made up.
We have made up now.
Well, that's all on Journalist Hangouts. Join us tomorrow for another interesting episode of the program. Watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11 p.m. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on YouTube. That's at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Veronica Danny Boy. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.